The history of money. So, what is money? What's behind those little green paper bills that you have in your wallet that you carry around to exchange for goods and services? I'm about to go to a quick history of money on this edition of Virtual Wealth 101. I'll see you in 8 seconds. Welcome everyone to this edition of Virtual Wealth 101. I'm your host Plateau Sigma, which is my gamer tag, so if you're a gamer, feel free to add me as your gaming buddy. I play on the PlayStation Network. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel for more knowledge to make you rich. Now, money, what is it exactly? For that answer, we need a little history lesson. So let's go back to the American Revolution around the year 1775. What was one of the problems that started the idea of breaking away from England? Well, one of the main reasons, aside from all the other philosophical reasons, the main reason was money. Apart even from the unfair taxation, King George III outlawed the independent, interest-free currency that the American colonies were producing. King George wanted the American colonies to borrow from the Central Bank of England to pay the taxes incurred by the colonies at that time to England, and the currency used within the colonies for the local goods and services. The king deemed all U.S. currency invalid and didn't honor any of the denominations. As you can imagine, this caused a great hardship on the colonies with this system, as they found it extremely difficult to pay taxes and tariffs with the colonial currency, which led to the events like the Boston Tea Party. It caused the American colonies to go into debt. Now, why? Because central banks don't give money to governments, they loan it. So currency coming from a central bank is issued automatically with some debt attached to it. The interest charged when it's issued. So let's look at this more in detail, and we'll use nice easy numbers, okay? So let's say $1 is issued by the central bank at a 5% interest rate. That makes that $1 worth 95 cents because you owe 5 cents or 5% on that dollar. All currency is then issued with a certain amount of that debt. So when you issue a currency in large amounts, the people incur all the debt that the currency is loaned to. So, how's that interest paid? Only with more of the same currency issued. So it becomes this vicious cycle that you can't get out of. The brilliant minds of our founding fathers easily recognized this, and the seeds of the revolution were born. The rest is history. So let's take a look at the central banks and their role. The central bank controls the amount of currency in circulation by expanding or contracting inflation, and they control the interest rate, the amount of money charged for the currency issued. So around 1910, the United States began to implement its own central bank, the Federal Reserve. Remember, the Federal Reserve is not affiliated with the government, it's a private corporation. So since around 1913, the Federal Reserve has been in charge of issuing the currency of the US and setting the interest rates. Now, the American dollar used to be backed by gold. If you look at dollars before the 1930s, you'll see that the dollar said payable in gold. Following the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression, the American government called all gold from private citizens to be turned in, with the exception of, tiny amounts of jewelry. Citizens had to turn in their gold to the US government under the threat of imprisonment for 10 years. This left all US citizens to use the American dollar as the sole legal tender for all debts, public and private. Recognize that sentence? The American dollar has since not been tied to anything. Its value is only tied to the faith that people have in the American dollar, the American credit rating, and the level of inflation at any given time. This is what's referred to as fiat currency. So why is this important to know? Because on this channel, we're going to discuss investing or tying your money into something that is worth something in order to stay above the rate of inflation. So how do you do that? Stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate. The worst thing you can do once you start accumulating a good amount of money is to keep it in the bank forever. Do you think the millionaires or billionaires in this world keep their money in a bank account or in a big safe at one of their properties? No. Their money is invested in stocks and bonds and whatever else I mentioned. What is equally important, though, is when we start talking about cryptocurrency, which is a decentralized currency, it's not under the control of the Federal Reserve so far. We will see exactly how it works, how it's really no different from the current US currency, and why the central bank, Federal Reserve, hates it. The Federal Reserve has no control over it, but the cat is already out of the bag. Cryptocurrency is almost the same as the currency used in the American colonies way back when. Maybe not necessarily the same because of the way it's handled, but it is the same idea. It is decentralized, and that means that it is out of the eyes of the central bank. Is it any wonder that there's a smear campaign against cryptocurrency right now? Doesn't it make you wonder why? Especially after all what I've just said. I won't get into who owns or controls the central banks of the world, or for what purposes other than making their own profit and all that theory stuff. That's for all of you to discuss in the comments below. One thing I will say though, if you look at a lot of the global conflicts of the world and peek behind the scenes using the template, as your point of view, you'll see things a lot differently in terms of what causes these conflicts. Again, that's for you to think about and to discuss and comment on. But for the purposes of this channel, it's important to understand what money is in order to make responsible and smart financial decisions going forward. Now, I'm not going to endorse any cryptocurrency or even encourage your investment in cryptocurrency. All I want for you is to be informed and educated so that you can make your own informed decisions. The smarter your decisions and investments are, the more money you're going to make, the more stable you will be, and ultimately the more wealthy you will become. I've been your host, Plateau Sigma. Add me as your gamer friend and we'll game it up sometime. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and help me out. That's all for today. Check out my other videos.
Yes, that's a completely reliable figure. I'm sure you'll agree there's some truth in what I say. By the way, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?